Hello everybody, it's Catherine from my hillside garden. Today I'm going to start the Bokashi bucket, so I wanted to bring you along. This is the system that I'm using, and if you didn't see my other video, I'll be sure to link it with this one. There is a base to this. It's a strainer, just to give you a look at the inside. The white thing is actually for the drain. So you put in the strainer base, and then the first thing you need to do is put in some of the Bokashi bran. And this is what has the active ingredient in it for fermenting. Now, a lot of people, it's called Bokashi composting, and a lot of people think when they're done that they have compost. But that's not really true. What it actually is you're fermenting the food to speed up the composting once you put it in your garden. So what comes out of this is not going to look a whole lot different than what you've put into it. So just keep that in mind if you should happen to decide to try Bokashi composting. You're actually fermenting the food first. And then it will compost quicker than if you put it in a compost bin and let it sit. So here we go. We're going to get started. So part of the directions is you're supposed to put in a handful of bran first. Well, does that mean a woman's size hand? Does that mean a man's size hand? Which is a lot bigger. So what I've decided to do is I have this 1/3 cup measure, and I'm going to go with this as my measurement for when I add things. So it says you're supposed to start out with a handful in the base. So I'm just going to sprinkle that around in the bottom. And I do have a lot of food to put in here. I went through my refrigerator, and you know how things go to the back, and they also die in the crisper bin eventually if you don't get them used up. Plus some of the things I did have in the freezer for the worms. And since I seem to be having some kind of issue with my worms at the moment, I'm not going to feed them next week, but I do have a bag of food in there for them. But I really was starting to overload the freezer with food for the worms. Now, a lot of times I do save scraps from carrots, celery, onions to make soup stock. I still have some of that in the freezer. So this is what I feel is the extra from the freezer and the refrigerator that I can use to start my Bokashi composting. So I put my bran in, and then I'm going to bring over, I have a whole bowl. It's got cauliflower in it, the stalk and the pieces. It's got some old celery that got left in the bottom of the bin. It's got some carrots that started to get a little funky in the bag. So, and I think there's some broccoli there. So it says to add about, I think it said about 3 inches. I don't know if I'm actually going to have that much. So let's see what it looks like when we empty this bowl. Okay. Now, spread it around because you're supposed, and I did chop some of it, just so you know. I chopped it to get it into smaller pieces. And I also have a bag of kale. I feel really bad. This was an excellent buy on this kale, and I used so much of it. There was so much stuffed in this bag, and I just couldn't use it all up. So that ended up in the freezer as well. So what I'm going to do to make sure that this works properly, I have a potato masher, and I'm going to use that to be sure that everything is packed down pretty compactly in there. I don't know. Okay, I just wanted to show you how it looked inside. I am smashing it down as best as I can, and I'm going to put in another layer of the Bokashi bran. I'm not quite filling up the 1/3 cup because I figure it, we don't know how much a handful is, remember, so this is just going to be our mark. And generally on the different videos I've seen, that's how it looks. Just a sprinkling on the top. So we've added in that sprinkling, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this whole bag of the kale in here. Hopefully that isn't too noisy. Doesn't want to come out of the bag. Okay. And that has filled it up quite a bit. I hope I didn't overdo it. So what we're going to do is we're going to smash it down again with the potato masher. And because I'm short, I have to stand on my tippy toes to do this up here. I didn't know what other spot in the kitchen to do this, to try and make the best use of the lighting and everything tonight, because it is evening. So I'm going to take another full scoop, a 1/3 cup scoop this time. And really it's very granular. Can I get that in the camera? Let's see, maybe the other hand. It's a very granular, kind of a mix between, say, sand and breadcrumbs. And it has no real, there's a little bit of a smell to it, but it's more like, the smell it has, I would say, is kind of spicy, almost like it's a ground spice of some kind. It's not bad at all. So I'm just going to press again, because I want to make sure I get as much air out as I can. And I'm going to bring you across the top so you can see how I flatten this out. So there we go. It's flattened out. Sorry about the camera angle. I know I say that all the time about this, but still trying to get this figured out with the camera. So I have the bran sprinkled all over the top. And the last thing I'm going to do, because it does mention sometimes about putting a plate over the top, and I don't have, should probably look to see if maybe I have a paper plate, but some of the packing that came with this was just the brown paper, like the brown craft paper. So I'm going to put that across the top and press it down one more time. And as I'm looking, I realized I forgot a bunch of cauliflower, so I have to do that first too. So I'll bring you back after I put the paper on. Okay, and you can see how I put the brown paper in there and just smashed it down with the potato masher. That's to help seal off that top so that the bottom area where the food is going to ferment will be an airless environment as much as it can be with this much airspace. So that's why it's important to push down as hard as you can all of what you add into the bucket, so that way it is an airless environment. And now I will put the lid back on, and I'm not going to do it in front of the camera because I think it's going to be, well, maybe it'll work. Oh, it snaps on really nice. Too bad it won't snap off that easy, I know, but that's just me. And there is a little bit of a divot or a bend. I don't know if you could really see it. And there's nothing wrong with that because this is a little bit of a softer plastic where the container itself is a hard plastic. So, and I'm just going to make sure that I have the little knob. Going to make sure the knob is in the closed position. I would hate for it to be open. Now, I haven't decided exactly where I'm going to put the bin yet. And I also haven't discussed this with my husband, so he does not know we are trying something new. Well, I'll let you know how that goes. I wanted to tell you why I wanted to do another form of composting. I already have the 3 bins outside. They're more or less considered cold compost bins. One is for leaves only, and the one is really for larger yard waste, and the other one has been for leaves, garden debris, and for kitchen waste. But in the winter, I can't get down there to put anything in the compost pile. That's part of the reason why I got the worms. The worms work out really well for me. They eat quite a bit. I don't have to worry about it. I can put it in the food in the freezer till I feed them. Works out great. Then I saw about Bokashi composting on Misfit Gardening and on Sarah's Kitchen Garden. And I was very intrigued by that there was another way we could use our food, that there was another way we could put our food waste to use in our gardens. Now with Bokashi, you can put dairy and meat and bones in there. They recommend that it's cooked, not raw, because you'll tend to get some problems with small critters in wherever you bury it. And I really don't want to worry about that. So for right now, I'm just concentrating on kitchen waste and perhaps cleaning our plates from dinner, but with no meat or dairy. So, you know, if we have pasta left or cooked vegetables, bread, things like that, that maybe the bread might have gone moldy, I'll throw that in here. So it's another way for me to put less refuse into my garbage every week. And it makes good soil. It's good for the worms. It's good for the environment. So I'm looking forward to this journey, another one. And I hope you'll keep following along with me. Please give me a thumbs up if you like today's starting video. Comment any questions. I'll do my best to answer. If you have something to tell me, if you Bokashi compost, I'd love to hear what it is that you do, what you've had good luck with, what you haven't had good luck with. And subscribe to my channel. I mean, it can't be much easier said than that. So have a great day. Happy Bokashi-ing.